wanted to come on today and talk about how horses and rabbits relate to overwhelm. So I heard this great explanation from a horse trainer one time that horses have a certain number of rabbits that they can manage. So horses, if you don't know anything about them, can be spooky creatures. They can spook at any number of things. So say you go for a horseback ride and you're riding down the trail and a rabbit jumps across the trail. The horse goes, oh my god, panic. And that horse could have any number of different reactions. They could sort of look at the rabbit, continue on, they could tense up, they could stop, they could stop and have a bit of a snort, they could jump sideways, they could rear, they could back up, they could take off. Those are how a horse spooks. And they can spook at any number of things. So the rabbit, anything that startles them, a plastic bag flying across the road, a dog running out to a fence, a deer farting 3 kilometers away, kidding but not kidding. Anything that kind of startles them is a spook. So when you're working with your horse and say you want to go out on a trail ride, this fellow explained this idea of the number of rabbits that your horse has. So say you want to go, you start to go out for a trail ride, and on a normal day your horse is relaxed and a rabbit crosses the trail and they just sort of look and continue on, no big deal. And then, a little ways down the trail, another rabbit jumps across the trail, they look, no big deal. And say you get, a few kilometers down the trail and rabbit number 10 goes across and the horse goes a little tense, looks, continues on. Rabbit number 11 jumps out and the horse freaks out, rears up, takes off. It's a big wreck now. We got to go home. It's a big deal. And so he talked about this idea that you can, one, gauge a little bit better how many rabbits your horse already has before you head out. So while you're warming up, while you're training a little bit, you would gauge how many rabbits your horse currently has. So you have a better idea of sort of how far you can manage with their stressors, and also figure out how to reduce the number of rabbits they currently have. So what techniques work for your horse to, when you get to 8 rabbits, you can do this technique and it kind of brings them back down to maybe 6 rabbits or 3 rabbits. So they have that extra little bit of space that they can manage. They have a little more room for more being startled a little more, for more stressors before they fully lose it, rearing wreck program. And I don't know what made me think of this the other day, but I was like, that's a great explanation for overwhelm and stress in our lives. So when we wake up in the morning, there's a few factors that maybe affect us that add some rabbits on right away, like less sleep, dehydration, stressors from the past days that you haven't been able to let go of, so maybe not enough movement or release of some form. Maybe you have some mental stress from work, maybe you have a project coming up, maybe your kid's got something stressful, maybe your kid is just for that day. So as soon as you get out of bed, maybe you've piled on a whole bunch of rabbits, and if you have no way to sort of bring that down, then you go about your day and the rabbits just keep stacking on. And depending on your capacity, so maybe where you're at in your cycle and all the other factors that create your capacity for the number of rabbits you have that day, maybe you can go through your whole day and everything rolls off your back. It's no big deal. And maybe for the whole week, everything rolls off your back. And then you get to rabbit number 752, and then it's rearing, freaking out, yelling, screaming, all the things. Your overwhelm rises to the top. So what I'm getting at here is that the rabbits are your stressors, obviously, and that you could treat yourself like a horse a little bit here, where you could wake up in the morning and think, okay, where am I at with my capacity? So maybe depending on where I'm at in my cycle, if you're in your ovulation phase, maybe you have a large capacity for rabbits. So maybe you can go a little further, stretch it a little longer before you need to take a few rabbits off. Or maybe you're in a part of your cycle or part of your life where you don't have as much capacity, and so you know you need to take a few rabbits off sooner. So you can check in with yourself in the morning and in the middle of the day. Maybe when you get, partway through the day, you can be like, oh, I'm pretty close to topped off with the rabbits. Or I've got lots of space. But when you're getting to this point where you're like, okay, I could either dig a deeper hole and just like bulldoze through. I see that I'm close to my max capacity of rabbits, and instead I'm just going to push through. Just keep throwing those rabbits on. I'll be fine. And bulldoze through and just dig yourself a deeper hole in the hopes that that will make more space for rabbits. And often that ends up in the accumulation of stress where we, becomes like every single rabbit added on is like a freak out, like overwhelm. And we're reacting in ways instead of responding. So maybe we're yelling, maybe we're hiding, maybe we're tense, maybe we just feel overwhelmed. Maybe we start to get feelings of panic attacks, or it just becomes too much. So now we've dug ourselves a hole in order to try and fit more rabbits in, but the rabbits are just taking over. The stressors are taking over. And our other option instead is to go, okay, I'm getting close to max capacity for rabbits. Like, you guys need to go home to your own burrow. And so we have the opportunity then to step back for a second and see, use our techniques that we know help take a few rabbits off. So maybe taking a minute to just focus on your breath, maybe turning on a dance music song and dancing around to discharge some of the energy. Maybe a minute of journaling, maybe 11 minutes of yoga nidra or a guided meditation. Maybe it's stepping outside and taking a breath in the fresh air. Whatever your things are, and it doesn't have to be one thing. You can have an arsenal of things. Maybe it's going to the bathroom to be alone for a minute. Whatever your things are, you have the opportunity then to do that, to take a few rabbits off. So I would love it if you would take the opportunity to check in right now and see, where am I at for my number of rabbits? And maybe take this idea and play with it in your life a little bit. Use it as a thing where you can check in a little bit and say, okay, what's my capacity today? And what can I do to prevent myself from reaching max capacity? What are my techniques that work really well to send my bunnies back to their burrow? And can you use that to help prevent yourself from reaching max overwhelm, and then letting that roll into full-on burnout, where you no longer give any fucks about life at all. So try it out. Let me know how it goes. And I'm excited to hear what kind of horse you are and how you treat yourself as a horse. Have a really awesome rest of your day.